Good evening, everyone. I hope the audio is clear now. So we are yet to start. We'll wait for I think 1 or 2 minutes as more participants are joining. So let all of them be in the room and then we can start. Hi, Kaushal. No, it's not a follow-through day. The Nifty has gained only 0.9%, right? And we wait for 1.5% on a higher volume. So I think volume was on the higher side than yesterday's session. But हाँ अभी market status change नहीं होगा because we want 1.5% gain on Nifty. आज का सेशन वैसे अच्छा था but the recovery was from the low and that's why it looked like there is a strong rally. Deepak is asking where can we see percentage of Nifty? Anyway, maybe on the NSE website, Money Control, any news channel, you can see them. Okay, I think now let's start, and then after some brief discussion on the current Nifty setup and some setup of the key sectors, we will start with your questions. So before that, we might pause the chat box as of now for some minutes, and once that this is over, you can start posting your questions. So again, everyone, welcome to the Stock Durbar, and a very good evening to all of you. The good part is that today was a good session, not in the morning. In fact, it was a little bit good in the morning, but then there was a reversal and Nifty breached yesterday's low. In fact, Nifty went below 16K level, and that's where it looked like there might be some issue more to come. But the recovery was very smart. A lot of stocks, especially you can see the metal stocks, and they were beaten down, obviously. And the support of HDFCs, I think both the HDFC stock was quite well. The Tata Steel was the top gainer today, the JSW, the banks, especially the SBI, HDFC Bank, HDFC, ये सब 2-3% बढ़े. And that was a very good recovery today. So the good part is Nifty recovered from the low, and this is what we want. ये वाला जो action होता है, that you can mark it as a positive action while the market is in downtrend. So generally what happens whenever we are going lower, right? If you can observe, say this part, we are not going more ahead. See over here, a lot of time Nifty attempt to move higher, right? But it always fails. See particularly over here. यहाँ पे निफ्टी ने एक बार ट्राई किया था 16,300-400 वाले लेवल पे, जो हर बार फेल हो रहा है निफ्टी. यहाँ पे भी ट्राई किया था, ऊपर गया लेकिन क्लोज कहाँ आया, नियर द डेज लो. लेट मी एनोटेट इट सेपरेटली. ओके, सो दिस टू कैंडल आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट. डे लो पे बंद आया, दोनों ने ट्राई किया था कि 16,400 निकाल ले, बट दैट डिडंट हैपन. सो दिस इज व्हाट we don't like. This can be a negative action, but today can be considered as a positive action. Volume भी अच्छा था on the buying side, and Nifty ने एक बार 16 के breach करके again it closed near the day's high. So this is good. So now currently we are in a rally attempt, right? अभी एक potential bottom है हमारे पास यहाँ पे 15,735 का. So now what we are looking for, just 3 points, so you can note it, mark it, and whatever. First is the FTD, that is the follow through day. I think there were a few questions that why today not follow through. Follow through day के लिए condition is 1.5% gain on Nifty on a volume which is higher than previous session. So आज निफ्टी का gain around 0.9 to 1% के बीच में था. So that's why we are not considering today's session as a follow through day. Okay, the second thing, ऊपर की साइड में अभी यही जो मेन फैक्टर है वो देखना पड़ेगा, फॉलो थ्रू डे. अभी दो और चीज है दैट यू नीड टू लुक फॉर, दैट इज प्लीज डू नॉट टर्न ऑन योर वीडियोस, इट डिस्टर्ब्स द एंटायर ग्रुप. ओके, अभी ये दो लाइन आप देख रहे हैं यहाँ, ये तो 250 है, दैट आर वेरी फार, सो दैट डिस्कशन इज नॉट अ गुड टाइम टू डू टुडे. But you can observe this one. So this pink line over here is a very short term moving average, that is 10 EMA. DMA नहीं है, exponential moving average है, EMA. The green line over here is the 21 EMA, right? This is also EMA, not a DMA. Please mark 10 and 20. तो अभी follow through day तो चाहिए, that is the main thing as for the only rule. But what you can look for is that this shorter term moving average 10 EMA to cross this 21 EMA. That is one thing. And other thing which William O'Neill has discussed sometimes, that Nifty should move above this 21 EMA और उसका intraday low भी एक बार 21 EMA के ऊपर होना चाहिए. The intraday low for any day should be above 21 EMA, then that is a positive sign. Let's say for example tomorrow we reclaim this 21 EMA level, just an example. And yes, everyone knows over here, and we also start with that, a clear disclaimer: this is not a investment advice to buy or sell. We are just discussing for the knowledge sharing purpose, right? So let's say for example tomorrow 21 EMA is reclaimed, but tomorrow's, if there is a gap up opening, then that's a different thing. Agar gap up opening nahi hota, then the low will be below 21 EMA. So okay, reclaiming 21 EMA is positive, but we will wait for one more day, and that day is when कि मान लो ये 21 EMA है रेड लाइन, तो उसका लो भी 21 EMA के ऊपर होना चाहिए. Then that action along with a short term moving average crossing the 21 EMA will be a very positive sign for the market. And that, you know, when it couples with the some good momentum in the leading stocks, जैसे banking stocks है, IT stocks है, they are having higher weightage in the index. And if those stocks, you know, start to reclaim their moving averages, or they start taking support near the recent lows, then there might be a sign of a potential bottom. But yes, the most important thing is follow through day. These are the additional indicators. As you guys are here, so it becomes necessary to discuss these indicators also. But the most important is 1.5% gain on a higher volume. Yeah, we will try to, you know, share. So there were a few comments that key regularly. So we do share these things regularly through our daily big picture. And if you are you should follow that daily big picture. So usme we will, you know, describe all these things what we observe. So last week also we discussed about जब Nifty में rally हुआ था, that Nifty 500 का अगर आप देखें तो that was on a below volume. Out of 500 stocks, only 15-20% stocks raised on above average volume, right? So there was a rally everywhere. ऐसा लग रहा था कि भाई सब कुछ green में है, but volume अच्छा नहीं था. So these kind of minute observation, this 10 EMA, 21 EMA वाला thing, so you can't get it on a website. But yes, you can just in website you go to our daily big picture. There you can get it, or we will keep posting on some social media platforms as well, so that it becomes easy for you. And I think our team has, you know, posted some links over here, so you can, you know, start following us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. मतलब जो हमारी marketing team है वो ये चीज हर जगह पे पोस्ट करती है, so you can easily find those things over there. Anyways, so these are the thing you need to look for on the higher side on the Nifty. Lower side में clear cut level है, right? That is this 15735. इसको ब्रीच नहीं करना है. अगर ये ब्रीच होता है, then market moves to correction, and then the bottoming process might take even more time, and the cuts may be even deep, right? Yes, so नीचे की साइड में एक ही है, ऊपर की साइड we discussed the 2-3 things. Okay. Now if you look at few other sectors, the most important weightage Nifty Bank, see similar thing, green line देख रहे हो 21 EMA, it is finding resistance over there. So moving about this line and at one full day इसके ऊपर रहना चाहिए. So that is crucial. That is important for Nifty, but anyways, these indexes are also a leading one. So you can, for additional confirmation, you can watch it out here also. So yeah, you can see over here. I think since a 1 month, this green line is not taken out, right? The 21 EMA is acting as a resistance for Bank Nifty. And on the downside, same. अभी का जो recent का bottom है, Nifty should hold about, the Bank Nifty should hold about that bottom. Look at some of the names here. Auto. So Auto did relatively well in this fall. You can look at the relative strength of auto stocks. That is comparatively better. अभी आप Maruti देखें, Tata Motors देखें, so there is some improvement. TVS, auto, also the auto ancillaries, they are also holding well. And over here, if you can see, Nifty Auto is trading about all its key moving averages, right? So that's really good. Now, if we talk about IT, yes, this is in pressure a lot. After a high of around 40,000, like 39,500, January में बनाया था, and now it has today. Yesterday it breached 28K. I think today's candle is not yet updated in this chart because sector wise का evening में update होता है. The Nifty you get it on a 2-3 minute delay basis, but sector wise शाम को update होगा. So it has also breached the 28K level. So the fall is very deep, like it's almost at its 52 weeks low. And not only the Indian IT, अभी आप Nasdaq में देखिए, more than 30% fall on a Y2Day basis. And look at the IT stocks over there globally. So the sell-off in the IT stock is global. So it is not restricted to the Indian IT stocks, but it is global. And यहाँ पे भी FIIs का selling, that point I missed to discuss, it's still continuing, right? And if you can see, today also there is a lot of return. When you compare it with 2020 wala year, if you look at today, there is a good return that the investors are getting compared when if they would have invested in 2020. So उसकी वजह से this has become a sweet spot for FII कि हाँ इंडिया में अभी प्रॉफिट मिल रहा है तो वहां पे रिडेम्पशन का सेलिंग करो. So the process is continuing, though there is a point that हाँ liquidity concerns खड़े हो रहे हैं. US में rate hike cycle start हो गए. Yesterday only FOMC came up with their MOM, and after that I think the market was holding a bit. There was no negative surprises in that, or there were no such too many indications that there will be a very something surprising. But yes, overall it was what was expected by the market, the MOM, and that's why the market was holding well. But see, the rate hike cycle, the liquidity getting sucked, and also there is a profit in the Indian market because we have outperformed. अगर हमारा last 2 years का performance देखे तो हमारा outperformance बहुत सही है. तो उस वजह से यहाँ पे profit booking अभी भी चालू है from the FIIs front. Yes, and one thing where I'm discussing about Nasdaq and a bit of US market. So let me take again you to Nifty. So I discussed about that follow through day. And this is important to note कि already US में 3 follow through day recently fail हो गए हैं. And जितनी बार follow through day का failure होता है, that is a very negative sign. Once you get a potential bottom type of thing कि हाँ भाई अभी मान लो कि यहाँ पे 15,735 पे एक हमको potential bottom मिलता है follow through day के बाद, and if that follow through day fails, market फिर से वहां से गिर जाता है and it makes a new low, then that is very negative. And in this calendar year itself, in just May, it's all May, and already 3 follow-through day has failed in the US market, and that is something negative, and you should note. And this is also applicable in India. You should be very careful when you get a first follow-through day. मान लो कि आज स्टार्टिंग में हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे कि आज फॉलो थ्रू डे है क्या, अगर फॉलो थ्रू डे आ भी जाता फिर भी आप निफ्टी का टेक्निकल सेटअप देखो, लीडिंग स्टॉक्स का सेटअप देखो, व्हाट इज देयर पोजीशन, निफ्टी बैंक का क्या पोजीशन है, मेटल्स का क्या पोजीशन है. सो डोंट बी वेरी एग्रेसिव एंड सी दिस इज आवर मेथोडोलॉजी, राइट, एंड वी आर नॉट इन अ हरी टू get a rock bottom price. We don't want to invest at a discounted price. And I think all of you over here, most of you might be aware, that William O'Neill thought is to buy high and sell higher. We want to time the market, right? And it's always about probability. It's not about timing it 100%, but yes, it's about probability to time it using the rules, because the noise is never helped in the market. The emotions during these kind of markets are very high. क्योंकि क्या हुआ था लास्ट ईयर, कोई स्टॉक पकड़ नहीं पाते थे कि 200 पे अगर टाटा मोटर लेना है, लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल टाटा पावर, तो वो भागे जा रहा है, ले नहीं पा रहे हो. एंड नाउ दीज लॉट ऑफ स्टॉक्स आर डाउन 30%, 40%, 50% फ्रॉम हाई. सो दैट इमोशन कम्स नेचुरली कि भाई अभी तो लेना पड़ेगा, अभी तो ये भाव आ गया है जो हमको एक साल पहले लेना था. But don't try to jump in too early. That is what our methodology says. Wait for some technical confirmation, and then and only then you jump into the market. So I think now let's start with your questions. It's already 4:47, so we get a full 45 minute, and one request, please do not post your questions on a repeated basis. So because it becomes very tough to scroll it and read the questions. We will try to answer as many as possible. And our head of research, Mayuresh Joshi, has joined the meeting, and also my colleague Wakar is here.
Yeah. So Rushit, just my two takes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So what Rushit elaborated right now, before we start answering your questions, 2-3 important aspects of Rushit's mention. One is very specifically in terms of how many of the leadership stocks and leadership position within those sectors are actually making sound basis. So that is what something we need to see, observe and monitor. Second, in the US, you've seen a lot of FTDs come through, but fail. I mean, 3 specifically is the number. So I think this time the market is being very, very cautious. What happens after such huge sell-offs? And US has seen a far, a much worse sell-off than what the Indian markets have at this point of time. So some of the Indian broad-based stocks have seen declines of even up to 50%. But we would ideally like to see strong bases being considered. And third, I think in terms of stock-specific action, once we see the FTD come through, which is the follow-through day, I think it's in my opinion, I think a far better strategy to adopt. Maybe we miss out on that initial 4-5%, but at least it gives us the confidence that the market is trying to gestate the worst in terms of macros, so on and so forth. And maybe in such volatile times, the pullbacks that the market can give, maybe consolidation if the market does go through, can give you good opportunities. Which sector, Ankush, can we see a sell-off? I think largely, if you see the FI selling, right, has been concentrated on IT to a large extent. Banks have not been spared. FMCG metals have not been spared. So to a large extent, FMCG have still relatively held out. But I think it's too difficult to pinpoint right now, right? I think it's largely index management that is probably happening on the Nifty at this point of time. Maybe broader markets is something that we might have witnessed a brutal sell-off at this point of time. But I think where companies' earnings are holding up, where the EPS rating is good, is good. There was something specifically for the sugar sector. Now there were some news that has come through. 10 million tons is what the capping is. But guys, what happens is that if you look at the opening inventory, right, it's a very regulated sector in India. So let us understand that first. So the opening inventory for this sugar season was close to around 7 or 8 metric ton aspas. If you're looking at a production that ISMA is putting out at 31, 32 and consumption 24, with exports capped off, you are going to still see some amount of surplus for the Indian markets per se. Now the pricing is determined on 2/4 on sugar. So the FRP is what the central government decides, which is the fair and remunerative price. And state governments, including Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, have got their own state advised prices as well. With ethanol being a big time addition to a lot of sugar companies' portfolios and sweets. Really, I think the ethanol story has started kicking off significantly. And the petroleum minister has, in fact, even upped the targets in the next few years. A lot of companies have expanded their capacities on the distillery front. A lot of companies are making and enabling uh, 2G and 1G, I mean, two generation and one generation kind of plants to probably ensure that ethanol is made in the right mix so that it does not spoil the entire uh, internal combustion engine, the ICE ecosystem, right? So largely, again, I think for the sugar sector as a whole, I think this has been a sell-off on the news that got announced, but I think it was holding up pretty well. But I think a lot of these stocks have moved below their moving averages. So to cut the point short, I think let's wait for the FTD. It's okay. I think if and it gives us a confirmation. So it's okay in the sense of us getting out to that 1.8% that the Nifty might give, but it will give us the confidence that the market is poised to actually have some consolidation and some better showing, and that largely supplies over. So I think with that, I think I'll just hand it over to Rushit and Vakar. So I think they'll probably take it further.
Thanks, Viresh. So we'll start with the stock-specific questions. Question on Divis Lab. So yes, for Divis, the result was for Q4 was good. I think it was a beat, but जो उनका कॉन कॉल हुआ, I think after the result, if I'm not wrong, stock ऊपर भी गया. So the result was quite well on all the fronts. But after the con call, I think there were a lot of negative indications that analysts took, and after that there was a brutal selling and heavy selling. I have never seen these kind of selling in Divi's lab, especially. Even if you look somewhere over here in March, यहाँ भी ऐसा खराब selling नहीं हुआ था Divi's lab में, and that is what happened at this point of time. So yeah, mainly the environment is very uncertain, right? That's what the some of the conclusion of the con call was, and there was no specific guidance. Generally, Divis used to give a guidance, and this time they refrained that okay, we will not be giving guidance because the environment is very uncertain, and there are chances that there might be some impact in the business. और जब भी कोई correction नहीं आता. See, now after that fundamental thing that came up negative, right, from the con call and all, and now see there was no specific selling in the stock in last few years, and that's the reason I think there was a brutal sell off in the stock, almost 20% in the recent.
Yeah. So Rushit, what happened is in their con call for Monopiravir, which is one of the COVID drugs, they had significant sales come through, but there is obviously going to be a big drop because of that. And therefore, as you rightly pointed out, there was no guidance which was specifically and pinpointedly asked. And certain capex on their Kakinada plant, if I'm not mistaken, was also some issues on that as well.
There was no permission and there was no clear timeline that they will be getting permission.
तो बाकी सब बढ़िया है. 2800 करोड़ का कैश है बैलेंस शीट के ऊपर, इज ग्रोइंग वेल, बट आई थिंक सच न्यूज in such a market was not at all taken. So it's gone off the cliff, as you see at this point of time.
Yes, and technically 50 DMA पे resistance लिया, you can see. And so after all this fundamental, it entirely drills down to the market condition and technicals, that what we always discuss. And you can see the selling over here. So do not try to catch this falling knife, but wait for some fundamental improvements, like the uncertainties highlight हुई है related to the new plant, new capex, right? Let it go through, or थोड़ा base बनने दो, let it reclaim its key moving averages and let a base form, and then and only then you should enter the stock. And in case like if you are holding, then it's already late. You should always book profit or cut losses when the 200 or 50 DMA is breached. And volume is high. This is what we don't like. See, 1, 2, 3, 3 consecutive sessions, day low pe close hua or high volume pe. So this is something very negative over here. And now there is a question on ITC. This stock has been in talk since it started, moving in February end. So there was a very good rally. The market thoda weak tha. So ITC gave a very good move. Recently, it formed a stage one flat base, breakout via high volume bid. But this is not a good time to scout for the breakouts and you try to add the breakout. So we avoided to invest in this market as it's not a good prudent way to invest in the market. But you can see there was a failure in the follow through day. Follow through day हुआ एक दिन चला फिर it breached the pivot level and I think today 21 EMA भी intraday breach किया था. See, overall, ये underperformer रहा है since years and now the businesses are doing well. जैसे कि उनका cigarette business है, that is one of the leading business. So उसमें taxation का बहुत clarity आ गया है. तो अभी तक क्या होता था? There was no clarity on the taxation part of the cigarettes. Every time you see, whenever the budget comes, whenever there was election time, budget time, you might see there was increase in the taxations on the cigarettes, and that used to hurt the sales. सिगरेट्स कॉस्टली हो रहे थे बट रिसेंटली ये लास्ट 2 बजट में कुछ चेंजेस नहीं हुआ टैक्स स्ट्रक्चर में एंड आई थिंक कपल ऑफ वीक्स बैक सम officer from the tax department also commented that the taxation on the cigarette is already very high and they are not always looking to increase the taxes on the cigarettes. So that's the one business, a good stability over there, and I think offices are reopening, the party culture has started again, the clubs and all are starting. So there is the increase in the sale, the volume and growth is good. Second thing, उनके जो other business है, the hotel business, इस क्वार्टर में अभी इतना अच्छा परफॉर्मेंस नहीं दिखा था बट the outlook is very good. The hotels, now you can see the occupancy rate. So in April there were 1 crore 8 lakh passengers who traveled through airlines, and that is a huge number. About 1 crore is a very decent number. So tourism pickup ho raha hai. You can look at the way the hotel bookings are. The cost has increased. So the good part is that they are able to increase the cost. They are able to increase the price of rooms, right? And due to this COVID, जो उनका cost cutting mechanism सारी hotels वालों ने चलाया था, वो अभी भी एक level पे intact है. तो उसकी वजह से वहाँ पे margin improvement का scope ज्यादा है. Then other businesses, FMCG, paper, जो इनका IT वाला business है, they all are doing quite well. And that's the reason the stock is holding very well. And जो recent का अभी rally हुआ था, so these all are adding up. Plus जो उनका FMCG business है, उसमें especially wheat. So अभी export का जो floor का chances था, उसमें भी उनको अच्छा realization मिला था last quarter. So overall, from all, like it did quite well, and that's the reason it reflected in the stock price. For now, the good part is कि अभी का जो fall आया है ना, वो low volume पे आया है. So you should mark this कि हाँ, अभी जो ये 3 दिन का fall आया breakout के बाद, तो वहाँ पे कोई major volume attract नहीं हुआ. And even while the base formation on the down days, volume was low. So this is what I like particularly about this stock. But we will wait for the market to improve. It is not good to invest in these kind of market. 4-5% 10% कभी भी कोई भी stock गिर सकता है. And हाँ, आज का रीजन अगर देखें तो today there was a that dividend adjustment. The company declared around, I'm not exactly sure, but हाँ 6 rupees के around का कुछ dividend declare किया था कंपनी ने, और आज उसका X date है, तो there was a adjustment for dividend, and that's the reason it is down some 5.8 to 6 rupees for today. But overall, the setup is very good, and you should keep these kind of stocks in your watch list. क्योंकि इसका relative strength देखो अभी भी 70 है, and it is trending higher. So जब भी market turn होगा, these stocks will be first to move. It is better to go for these kind of stocks. वो नीचे वाले को bottom fishing करने से better है कि whenever the market condition turns better, follow through day आता है, Nifty का setup ठीक हो जाता है, then you should have these kind of stocks in your watch list.
Shit, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Can I take a few queries? Okay. Shit, can you give me chart for Polycab? Polycab. Thank you. So even in this, we call about a bear market or a kind of a correction market, Polycab is still holding well. So Can you show me the ratings, please, and the stage count? Yeah. So as we all, yeah. So the stock is forming a good uh, stage to cup with handle base and trading kind of uh, breached below its 200 DMA, but was able to reclaim. And if you talk about the last few sessions, it's been going down with the market. But if you look at the volumes, I mean, the volumes has been on a much lower front. And talking about the fundamentals, going with the EPS rating as well. I mean, that's really strong. And on in the RS front as well, the RS rating. I mean, the line is kind of going on and going down at the moment, but the rating of 62 in this market is still kind of fair and holding up well. Talking about the recent results about the company is a market leader in terms of 23% market share in the wires and cable business segment within the organized sector. In talking about the growth in terms of the sales growth for the company, that is also very good. There was 35% YOY growth, led by 40% growth in the wires and cable segment. The FMEG segment, or the fast moving electrical goods segment, was kind of slow, was around 9% growth. But the major hit on the results was because of the raw material costs. I mean, the high raw material costs or the high inflationary costs that we're talking about since the last few sessions, and even mentioning in our reports as well. That is hurting on the company's margin. And that is why the EBITDA margin has declined around 173 BPS YOY to 12%. So that is where the company is getting hit. But I mean, talking about the fundamental and the qualitative aspects about the company, overall, the company is still poised for growth. I mean, they're still targeting that 11 to 13% of the EBITDA margin range going from FY22 to 24, which is around 9.8% for FY28, mainly because of increase in market share in the organized segment, even uh, uh, market share gains from the unorganized sector as well, plus higher contribution from your FMEG segment, which is your higher lucrative or higher margin segment. Talking about the long-term revenue target or the long-term revenue that company is still around 20,000 crores by FY26, which is around a 13% CAGR. So overall, the fundamental picture and the qualitative aspects about the company looks really superb. Even on the technical front, the stock is kind of holding well. So if the market remains supportive, as in if the market trades above the key moving first the short-term key moving averages, plus if we get a strong follow through day and the follow through day doesn't fail out, and the stock is able to reclaim its pivot, then it can be a good stock to watch out for, even in this kind of market. Leadership in it, we talk about leaders, so showing price leadership as well, and even on the qualitative aspects, it's a market leader in its own segment. So good stock to look out for if this stock trades around its pivot. The second stock I like to talk about is your PVR. So I mean, even before the merge entity, it was like it's a market leader in segment. And again, the base is kind of deep. I mean, the cup base is kind of deep. But if you look at the other aspects in terms of how the stock is placed off highs and from the key moving averages, it is even in this market is trading well above it's a 200 DMA. It's below the 50 DMA at the moment. At the off highs, if you look at it, that is still 13.5%. And the most positive part, if you can look at, is the RS rating and the RS line. The RS is kind of fair at 61, but the RS line in the last couple of months or few months, in the last 3 odd months, if you look at it, it's been trending higher. And even the base count has got reset, and the base count is kind of low at the moment at 2 for the company. Talking about the fundamental aspects and the recent results about the company, I mean, the reported revenue, the distribution revenue, the box office revenue, everything has been like on the QOQ front as well, it's been declining. But if we talk about the Jan was kind of a washout because of your COVID-19 wave, your the Omicron variant. and many slated releases were either pushed, or either if they were released, or which were earlier released in probably in December end or Jan first week. What happened was the screen, there was 100% occupancy. 100% occupancy came in probably in March end. So that is when I mean, these guys, the PVRs, the Inox, the Simpolis will start getting more revenues. And uh, even talking about the merge entity, that is the PVR Inox, will benefit from the scale of expansion, faster growth trajectory, and even other cost synergies as well. And on the guidance that the company has given, the company is on the recent con call has guided like around 120 to 120 screens would be 23, which will be on a capex of 400 crores, all funded through internal accruals. So that is, I mean, even no higher leverage, nothing. So there's the most good part in terms of that the entire capex has been funded through internal accruals, which will lead to higher growth going forward. And even talking about with inflations at other point, and in terms of their F&B costs and everything else, the company is not they don't want to hike their ticket prices. So by hiking ticket prices, that might fear out the returning audiences back to the cinema. So that is a good sign as well. And even in FY22, they've added around 29 screens. And the other major component of the revenue is the ad revenue. So the company, the PVR is expecting that ad revenues would, increase in the next few quarters, maybe in the next 2 to 3 quarters. So ad revenues for March is around 40% of pre-COVID levels. So that there is still a huge headroom for probably recovery and growth for PVR there. And even with the strong pipeline, and even how the recent movies have performed in terms of your KGF2, your RRR, and even the recent movies, how they're performing at the moment, and the slated releases which are there for the next few months or the few quarters, the future at the moment for this. The other will.
I think Vakar, your voice is breaking a bit.
Breaking a bit. Okay. Sorry.
No problem. I think that's clear for the PVR. We can move to others. So there is some questions on the paint as well as the insurance stock. So let's start.
Okay, you take that. You can take that. Okay.
HDFC, if we start with. See, recently there were some media reports, media notes on that. There's nothing official कि जो life insurance company, they will be able to sell the health insurance as well. So उनको वो भी permission मिलेगी. And so that is one thing. So let's see how, if the news is it true or not. So no one knows. ऐसे बहुत सारे news आते हैं. बीच में भी आया था कि government LIC में stake that ये आईटीसी में स्टेक बेचने वाली है. देन अगेन अ क्लैरिफिकेशन केम कि भाई ये सब मीडिया रिपोर्ट्स है, हम कुछ नहीं करने वाले हैं. सो नॉट बिलीविंग इन देम, बट यस दैट वाज वन थिंग, एंड फॉर अ टेम्पररी पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम दैट कैन गिव अ करंट टू द स्टॉक. द सेकंड थिंग इज जो अभी का रिसेंटली उनका जो बिजनेस है दैट इज गोइंग रियली वेल. एंड इफ यू कैन लुक नॉट ओनली एचडीएफसी लाइफ, जो अभी अप्रैल वाला जो उनका डेटा आया था, so that was really good to start the year. ICICI Pru Life, they are showing a very good trend, and also the SBI Life, and it remained the outperformer. So पूरे पैक में अगर आप SBI Life देखें, I'm not talking on the price volume front, but the business front. So business front में they did really well, and अभी भी देखिए, the stock is only 14% off highs, and it has not breached even the 1000 level. So there was no significant selling because the business did well. The individual AP growth for SBI Life was around 90%, and the growth for the HDFC Life was also very good. If you can see that the individual AP in April was somewhere around 10% growth, and it continued. So similar goes for the ICICI Prudential as well. So there was some 30-40% growth for those guys also. So the overall industry, there is a huge scope, right? Because we are still under insured country. अगर बाकी के peer से देखें तो हमारा insurance अभी penetration बहुत बाकी है, and I think there is good awareness that is coming after this COVID on the health insurance front as well as on the life insurance front. So a lot of positives for these insurance industry and from the long term point of view. But if you are looking at current charts, and in this market also, the stock is trading below its 200 DMA. अभी recently 50 DMA reclaim किया है volume से, so that is something positive. But wait for the base formation and let it improve on the technical front. 200 DMA reclaim होता है, results अभी थोड़ा और deliver करना पड़ेगा इन companies को, because if you look at the sales growth on the March 22, the result that was not that great. But हाँ, अभी अप्रैल से आई थिंक बहुत इम्प्रूव हो गया है फॉर दीज गाइस, एंड लेट्स सी हाउ इट कम्स अप विद द नेक्स्ट क्वार्टर एंड इफ दे कैन फॉर्म अ बेस ओवर हियर और मार्केट सही हो जाए फॉर ऑल दी वंस SBI as well. This is good. Like अभी जो बेस बनाना है, that is something very positive. You can see अभी last week भी around 1030 to 50 के 1100 के बीच में काफी consolidate किया, and there is a good support over there. So the entire insurance space, especially the life, is doing quite well. Now, if you look at the paint, so let's start with the leader, Asian Paint. There was a steep fall. The stock is more than 20% off high. So these kind of falls are not very normal as far as the Asian Paints is concerned. तो इसका Divis lab जैसा है, इतना गिरता नहीं है, but this time the sell-off is a bit deep. See, the result was not that bad. अगर volume growth देखे, revenue growth देखे तो काफी अच्छा था on a YOY basis. But the problem is the margin. Margin front में इन लोगों ने काफी सारे rate hikes लिए थे, right, over the last 6 months. But फिर भी 4 to 5% margin कम आया था. So this is a story for every stock. अगर FMCG stock देख ले, सीमेंट देख लो, कोई भी देख लो, margin front में बहुत problem है because the crude oil prices are high. Raw material cost is become very high for these stocks. So still I think demand का इतना issue नहीं है. Demand is there in the market. थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे होता रहता है, but overall demand की वजह से इतना drop नहीं हो सकता. But the margin is the major issue. Even I think 7 to 8%, yes, that figure जो first 6 month है अभी ये financial year के, they are planning to take a price hike of 7 to 8% on all the paint products, and the demand is robust because पिछली बार भी काफी सारे rate hikes लेने के बाद भी अगर आप demand देखिए, volume growth देखिए, so that was not that poor, so the volume growth was good, so that means price absorb हो रहा है, and that is something very positive for these companies. So even if now Asian Paint come up with 7 to 8% hike in the price, and if that gets absorbed, then that is very positive. एक चीज है कि अभी क्रूड फिर से 112-15 पे आ गया है, एंड लेट्स सी इफ देयर इज आउटलुक की क्रूड मे बी बढ़ सकता है, बट इफ यू लुक एट द जियोपॉलिटिकल इश्यूज, दे आर इन नो वंस हैंड. कोई कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकता कि रशिया कल क्या कर दे या फिर कोई और कंट्री क्या कर दे, या फिर ओपेक कब प्रोडक्शन बढ़ाएगा, कहाँ से सैंक्शन उठ जाएंगे, रशिया क्या ये वॉर वाला सिचुएशन खत्म हो जाएगा. सो यू नेवर नो कि क्रूड के प्राइसेस पे क्या होगा, बट यस, एवरीथिंग, अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स ऑन द मार्जिन फ्रंट इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन द क्रूड ऑयल फॉर द पेंट इंडस्ट्री. सो एज ऑफ नाउ टेक्निकली डैमेज अवॉइड, एंड देयर वाज आल्सो द बर्जर पेंट, सिमिलर थिंग, प्राइस हाइक में हो रहे हैं, वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ में कोई इतना प्रॉब्लम नहीं आता है, बट यस, two things we can come out with this कि या तो प्राइस हाइक थोड़ा लेट किया है इन्होंने, and yeah, second thing is the raw material cost is still going on increasing. So from both the front there is an issue. Okay, so there's a comment that we are taking some time, but yes, we don't want to rush. Like if your queries are get pending, and if we missed your queries, then you may email us and we will reply on that. But I think it is better to take an appropriate time and not rush through. Okay, in last 4-5 minutes, I will rush through some of the charts that are pending, but yeah, it's not a good idea that throughout the session we rush through. Okay, the next query is on Jubilant Food. Okay, so a lot of technical damage over here. The stock is almost 47% off high. जो 919 का यहाँ पे high बनाया था वहाँ से 47% the stock has fallen. But the good part now is कि selling volume कम होते जा रहा है. Right, the volume has been lower nowadays, so that is something positive. जो यहाँ पे भी फॉल आया वहां पे भी लोअर बिलो एवरेज पे आया, ये वाला भी बिलो एवरेज पे आया. सो लेट अस गिव सम टाइम, लाइक बिकॉज द रॉ मटेरियल कॉस्ट फॉर इज इंक्रीजिंग. जो उनका बेस मटेरियल का प्राइस है, जो भी फ्लोर का प्राइस है वो इंक्रीज हो गया है, जो पावर गैस सबके प्राइसेस जो है इंक्रीज हो गए. इवन द फूड इन्फ्लेशन इज वेरी हाई, राइट, एंड दैट्स द रीजन. ये सारे इश्यूज जो मार्केट में हो रहे हैं, द रीजन इज द इन्फ्लेशन की वजह से यूएस फेड को इतना रेट हाइक्स लेना पड़ रहा है. आरबीआई केम अप विद दैट 40 बिप सरप्राइजिंग रेट हाइक्स. ठीक है, तो inflation will hurt these kind of food companies, especially the Jubilant Foodwork. तो उनका जो पूरा रॉ मटेरियल कॉस्ट है तो वो बढ़ जाएगा. एंड there is a limit, very competitive market, so there is a limit to pass on the prices, though they have taken a lot of price hikes. ये KFC has taken the Pizza Hut, Domino's has taken the price hike, Devian International, that is the leading firm for the parent firm for the Pizza Hut and KFC and all. तो उन लोगों ने भी price hike लिया है, Jubilant Foodwork ने भी लिया है. But the raw material cost is higher, and after a certain extent you can't increase the price. So that is why these are under pressure, and I think let it give some time. Fundamental improvement plus the technical improvement. So there is a question on, let's take Raymond first. So this one is holding in this market, just 7% off lows. 50 DMA पे काफी अच्छा सपोर्ट मिला इसको. I think for 2-3 days it remained below 50 DMA. बाकी बहुत अच्छा सपोर्ट था. देखो एक चीज, that's what we discuss every time. There was a fall to 50 DMA, right? And look at the volume. पूरा dry up volume था. So this is something very positive when you see these kind of things. So if you are regularly into the market, then you should mark these kind of things. You should have these observations, and then see when it started to move higher. यहाँ पे देखो high volume पे candles आने लगे. So for long term perspective, this is very positive. Why we are not trying to enter that stock? हाँ, ये अभी buy zone में भी था, आज भी retake किया 50 DMA को, rebound किया 50 DMA से, दोनों चीज हुआ. But see, when the market is in downtrend, कभी भी fall आ सकता है. देखिए जैसे yesterday there was a 6% fall in the stock, right? उसके पहले के दिन से 6% का fall आ गया. So these situations are very normal in this market, and we don't want to take fresh positions in these market. But we have these kind of stocks in the list. इसका RS rating 85 है, one of the top notch. The growth drivers are good. I think जो cotton prices का issue है, the government is very serious about that issue. They are trying to control those issues. बाकी Raymond का काफी diversified business है, and there were some talks about the IPOs. तो उनकी 1-2 subsidiary companies है, उनका IPO आने की भी बात हो रही थी. So overall, all these things are holding well for the Raymond. In fact, we had it in our portfolio as a disclaimer. ये हमारे जो ये recent fall से पहले ये हमारे portfolio में था, but unfortunately market condition weakened and the stock breached its key moving averages, and we had to move out of the stock. Okay, so next, we will discuss Nasdaq as well. So there was a query on Kotak Bank. See, overall banking अभी का जो recent fall है उसमें थोड़ा support दिया है. That is true that the bank is trying to hold the thing. Overall, if you look at the technical setup of Kotak Bank, it has reclaimed 50 and 200-day moving averages. And अभी जो उनका recently it finds a resistance around this 1900 zone. See, यहाँ पे भी 1912 पे resistance था, यहाँ पे भी around 1950 1976. So ये पूरा उसका resistance zone जैसा बन गया है. So let it move out of this zone. The confirmation is once you get a breakout, but even if you are looking for some early entry, like sometimes we discuss about the entry within the base, तो उसके लिए दो चीज होनी चाहिए. एक तो मार्केट कंफर्म अप ट्रेंड में होना चाहिए, एंड हियर देयर शुड बी अ ट्रेंड लाइन जिसके ऊपर स्टॉक निकलना चाहिए. सो इंटरनली ओवर हियर 1900 to 2000 के जोन में उसको रेजिस्टेंस है. सो लेट इट मूव आउट ऑफ दैट जोन एंड लेट द मार्केट सिचुएशन इंप्रूव. Okay, so there are a few queries on the IT sector. Nasdaq, we will take it.
Rushit, I'll take in some queries.
Sure.
Yeah. Can you give me the chart for SRF? Guys, we'll try to take as many queries as possible, but I mean, till the last moment we cannot rush in. So let's have some qualitative and good discussions rather than hurried up discussions at the moment. So talking about SRF, yes, SRF it's holding well, and if I remember, it was there as our model portfolio stock before the market correction as well. Can you take the chart a little higher? Yeah, so just to see the ratings. Thank you. Thanks, Rushit. So if we talk about the off highs, I mean the off highs in this market is still decently plays at just 17% off highs. I mean strong fundamental story. So you can see EPS rating of 95, and even the RS rating is kind of holding well, and even the buyer demand is good. So overall, good fundamental story, and even on the technical aspect as well. I mean, the stock has. If we talk about today's action, the stock closed around its 200 DMA. So still, the stock needs to display some kind of strength, more strength going forward in terms of reclaiming its 21 DMA as well as your 50 DMA going forward. And even if this moment, even if the stock re-breaks out and the market supports, can be like a good watch out going forward. And if we talk about the recent results for the company, and this the stock did report like over the consensus estimates of a marginal beat on the top line, which is led by if you the chemical segments, your textile segment, the packaging film, all the segments grew in higher double digits, around 36, 24, and around 42%. The company is talking about capex of around 2,300 crores for FY23, which will be what is this? What are the figures of thumbs up and down indicate shown up on top right on the con? Okay. So even should you want to explain that? Was a thumbs up and down?
Yeah, sure. So this is what we can give it. So even you can give that thumbs up or the thumbs down. So
what the subscribers are liking and not liking, I mean, that's the basic thing. Nothing with the William O'Neill criteria for that.
there's nothing on the criteria.
Yeah. So it's just a kind of user rating about the stock, like how many people are liking the stock and how many people are not liking the stock. So we were there on the capex front. So capex for FY23 is around 2,300 crores, mostly for our chemicals division, specialty chemicals, specialty chemicals, 1,100 around for chemicals and specialty chemicals, and remaining for fluorochemicals. So overall, a well poised growth stock. If the stock reclaims its key moving averages and the pivot level, can be a good watch out stock. The other would like to talk, the query I saw was TCNS clothing. not a good stock on the technical front. So, I mean, the stock has been declining. I mean, it did try to break out from a cup with handle base, but the stock is seriously not in momentum and currently in downtrend for the last few weeks, maybe a month, and which can be poorly shown in its RS rating as well of 19. And even the if you took a look at the RS line, it's like steeply going downwards. So not at all. I mean, a buy watch list or a watch list stock. If someone is holding any kind of position in the stock, should have exited uh, below the 50 DMA line, or even with someone with a higher risk appetite, or convinced about the structural story of the company, would still have exited below the 200 DMA. So, I mean, not a stock to be kept in your portfolio at the moment with the steep declines that the stock is showing in this market correction. The other we can probably talk about is Schaeffler, the auto ancillary company. So yes, initially also when we were discussing about the auto index, and even your even the auto index is one of the few indices which is holding above its 50 and 200 DMA, and even the ancillary companies are doing well. So if we talk about, I mean, even the last 1 year, the price rally with the company, I mean, the stock has been going up. The moving averages have been trending higher, and even in this weak market, the stock is just 13.3% off highs and clearly trading well above its 50 DMA, and it's very finding support at its 5 EMA and 10 EMA. With, I mean, even the RS rating is superb at 80, and can see the buyer demand is great as well. So overall, a good stock, but I mean, not a buy or sell recommendation at the moment for the stock, just because of the market condition. So if the market would have been supportive, probably, I mean, even the stock could have displayed a higher price volume action as well.
Thanks, Vakar. So some discussion is needed on IT stocks as well as the Nasdaq. So I have tried to pull a chart of Nasdaq. Vakar, can you see this image?
Yes, Ushit, I can see the image.
Okay, for Nasdaq. So see,
Nasdaq chart. Okay.
This is the Nasdaq chart that I have pulled out, and this is from William O'Neill. This is Penere. That is our institutional product. So this is just for you guys that there is a lot of demand for the Nasdaq thing. See, there has been a steep fall. Okay, यहाँ से major fall आया था उसमें, and it tried to rally it for few times. जैसे कि if you can see the arrow over here, recently 20 मई को ये फिर से डाउन ट्रेंड में आया. ठीक है, उससे पहले रैली करने का ट्राई किया, एंड यहाँ पे तो ऐसा लग रहा था कि चलो भाई अभी बॉटम एस्टेब्लिश हो गया, 20% 25% गिर गया, अभी क्या है. बट दैट इज नॉट अ गुड वे टू आइडेंटिफाई द बॉटम. सी टू थिंग्स. एक तो जब ये मार्केट फॉल होने लगता है ना, तब ये पूरा ग्रोथ से वैल्यूएशन का गेम हो जाता है, और सबसे पहला कल्प्रिट होता है कि भाई आईटी ये बहुत हाई वैल्यूएशन लेके जा रहा है. सो देयर आर ऑलवेज अ चांसेस कि हाँ ये, स्पेशली इन यूएस. सो इंडियन आईटी इज अ बिट डिफरेंट. ऑन द सर्विस सेक्टर का पार्ट है, इवन दो दे आर लिंक्ड इन अ वे. बट सो दीज आर द कंपनीज लाइक स्नैप. दे टोल्ड दैट ओके हमारा अर्निंग्स कम हो रहा है, उन लोगों ने हायरिंग फ्रीज कर दिया, हायरिंग कम कर दिया. लुक एट दी फेसबुक, नेटफ्लिक्स का रेवेन्यू ड्रॉप हो रहा जा रहा है, उनका मॉडल में थोड़ा इधर उधर हो रहा है. सो जब मार्केट वीक होने लगता है, देन एवरीथिंग सडनली यू नो is getting priced in, and there is a huge selling in these tech stocks, especially due to the higher valuations that they already have. And secondly, it's not good to predict the bottom, because see, let's discuss this last 6 months. कि यहाँ पे जब हमने जनवरी 19 को डाउन ट्रेंड किया था नास्डेक, our global team down trended over here, and see this fall over here after that. If you look from there was again a rally over here. Sorry, yeah. So there was a rally over here again. फिर से यहाँ पे it was shifted to under pressure after that rally. Again a downtrend, right? Then there was again a downtrend over here. Then there it again tried to rally. So there were some 5-6 attempts over here in Nasdaq where it tried to rally, and I think 1, 2, 3, and this is the fourth time that it is pushed into the downtrend. So 3 distribution day का fail हुआ, right? And that is something not very positive for the stock. So let's not try to identify the bottom by ourselves कि हाँ valuation में इतना आ गया है, अभी ऊपर से इतना गिर गया है. So that is not a correct way. We need to wait for some technical confirmation. जैसे कि अभी यहाँ पे बेस बनता है, follow through day आता है, then that is where you can be a bit positive. हाँ, but अभी जिस तरह से follow through day fail हो रहे हैं, you need to be extra careful in this kind of market. So let the storm go, and don't be in a hurry to invest or catch the bottom. So there were a lot of attempts to catch the Nasdaq's bottom by a lot of guys, but it never happened. हर बार उसने weakness show कर दिया. And the other thing is हाँ कि उनके top 5 या जो stocks है उनको भी ले लो, तो उनका setup क्या है कैसा है वो भी देखना जरूरी हो जाता है. So that's what when we discuss about the leading stocks. So that is what we try to mean कि जो भी groups के leaders होते हैं, you need to focus on them. Okay. Now let's come to our market. So quickly take you through TCS chart. Yes, it is in a downtrend, 20% off highs and almost 10 to 12% below its 50 and 200 DMA. So buyback was very high. That was somewhere around 4,500 share का buyback किया था company ने. But after that there is a lot of pressure because last year it was something like कि there is a lot of change in the technology. The technology is in the upcycle. Technology boom आ रहा है. But the lot of issues came when this rate hike cycle was about to start. The valuation issues, जो स्पेंडिंग का इशू है, जैसे कि अभी स्नैप ने बोला कि अभी हम स्पेंडिंग भी कम कर रहे हैं. लॉट ऑफ अदर कंपनीज आर आल्सो ट्राइंग टू कट डाउन देयर स्पेंडिंग्स. सो दैट विल इम्पैक्ट द इंडियन सर्विस companies, IT service companies like the TCS or the Wipro, Infi also you can see the technicals are very weak. Margin pressure बहुत है, तो attrition का issues हो रहा है, and that is the one of the major concern for the Indian companies. So look at the attrition in the Infosys or the Tech Mahindra or the TCS. So that is very high, and again to train those people, so there is a lot of expense. You need to get the talent at a higher cost. So that all is adding to the pressure over here for the IT stocks. Yes, so Sridhar has a very good question that after rally attempt, follow through day occurs between 4 to 7 session. Yeah, so this is an ideal follow through day, right? Let me take you through Nifty's chart. So what William O'Neill suggests that 4th to 7th day is the ideal one for getting a follow through day. जैसे यहाँ पे we change the status to a rally attempt, right? Over here. So this is first, second, third, fourth, yeah, 6th day. So ideally 4th to 7th day में आ जाना चाहिए follow through day. But sometimes it might take longer duration also, 15 days, 20 days. But जितना delay होता है ना, उतना weakness बढ़ता जा रहा है. वो follow through day पे confidence इतना कम हो जा रहा है. That doesn't mean कि 9th या 10th day पे अगर follow through day आता है, then that is not good. But ideal is 4 to 7. But we keep on waiting for a follow through day, and that's the fact. But if it comes very late, let's say for example 15, 20, 25 sessions के बाद आता है, then that is not a very strong one. The probability of failure is higher. That doesn't mean it will fail. So yeah, that's all depends upon the probability, but early follow through day is always what we like. Raj, and as a comment, when do you reset the thumbs up and down? Yeah, it is a good sentiment. Yeah, we don't reset it. Maybe I will ask my product team that, yeah, if they can work something around this thing. For the sentimental indicator. Yes, that's correct. Okay, now a couple of queries. ICICI Bank. This came out with the best result, what I feel, for in the private banking, जो leading banks है उसमें, the result was one of the best. इतना गिरा नहीं है, so hold कर रहा है ये market में. It is 15% off highs, right? Just along with the Nifty, and it is forming a stage 3 base. So आज 50 DA में तो reclaim कर रही है. So let's see how the technical strength improves, and can it give a trend line breakout, or can it give a base breakout when the market situation improves. But yes, so fundamentally very good stock. This gave one of the best result this quarter as far as the banking industry is concerned. इनका जो asset quality improve हुआ है, NIM improve हुआ है, profitability is good, and their market share is also quite well. Maybe one or two more questions and then we close. Okay, Globus Spirit. Breakdown दिया था, and there was a very strong recovery today on a very good volume. So this is something a good day you can consider, but it is very deep. अभी 200 या 50 DMS आप देखे, the drop is very deep, and see these are very small stocks. अभी जैसे कि 2800 crore का इसका market cap है. So जब market इतना volatile होता है तो you never know what happens in these kind of stocks. So it's always better to avoid bottom fishing in these stocks and wait for it to gain some strength. Currently the technical setup is quite weak because आज का अगर एक्शन देखे तो high volume पे लग रहा है, but selling भी high volume पे ही था. Last 3 days the selling was also on the high volume, and when it tried to hold near 200 DMA, if you can see over here, the volume was not that great, and before that there was a bit higher volume selling at this point of time. So let's give some time to these stocks. So that's the best thing to do as a retail investor. See, because a retail investor has a limited capital, right? And we can't afford to put that hard-earned money into to try to bottom fish the stock, and if the market falls further, you never know what's happening. So it's better to buy high and sell higher. Paytm, last stock for the day, and if the queries are pending, we can always write to us. Yeah, it reclaimed its 50 DMA. इस बार का results तो negative ही था, but there are some estimates कि yes, by the end of this year or the next year, they might turn profitable, and so the market always builds upon the estimations, and so that has improved a bit, and that's the reason there was some buying over here. But don't be an early buyer over here, because this has destroyed a lot of wealth, and you don't want to put your money in these stocks to bottom fish in a very difficult to navigate market. So you never know when the fall is coming in these kind of stocks. So it's better to avoid as of now. Let's see if they can deliver in next quarter, if the price strength improves and there is some base formation after at this point of time, let's say between 600 to 800. So we are not hurried to catch it at 600. We are fine to buy it even after 800 if the technical setup and the fundamentals are strong. Yeah. Don't get deceived by the bounces. Not only in the Paytm market में भी अभी वही situation है कि जब तक follow through day नहीं आता, key moving averages reclaim नहीं करते, so they are deceiving bounces. So even follow through day भी आजकल deceive कर रहे हैं. So you need to be very careful in these kind of markets. So this don't occur every time, especially those who are new, जो last 1-2 साल में आए हैं, who have seen a very good run in the market. So this is a very good learning period for all of us, you, me, everyone. And So it's better to keep learning. So that's it from my side today. So you can get all the latest update on our social media platforms. And maybe our team can post some links so you can keep on following us on the Twitter or the YouTube, and you get the latest update of all the market conditions, all the stocks over there. And you can also go through our daily big pictures, and some Instagram users can also follow us. So that's never an issue. We are present in all the social media. So that's it for the today's session. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Vijay, for attending the session.